I have to say, Echo Lake Elementary is impressive with their one-to-one initiative and how well that's, you've got kids carrying machines home. But yet you've got some schools in the district that aren't doing that. You know? And what are the bumps on the road you're running into with one-on-one trying to convert that culture?
Okay. And I would say, and I might be off a little, for the past at least 4, if not 5 years, Echo Lake's had a one-to-one for grades 4, 5, and 6 laptop program, and that's 24/7, going home with them every night, etc. We would have guessed that that would have been a program that would have spread to our other elementary sites. We currently have 9 traditional elementaries and 1 K-8 alternative program. We would have suspected that that would have been a sort of grassroots movement that all buildings would have liked to move toward. And it's been slower than we suspected it would be. We still have machines one-to-one for the grades 5 and 6 in all of our buildings, but they're not on a 24/7 basis. And again, I think that's comfort level. I think there were unique set of circumstances that came together in Echo Lake where you had those key people who amongst their peers really inspired that sort of collegiality and change that's necessary system-wide to make something like that work. And we need to be able to provide access for other teachers to come see what that looks like in a classroom environment. Not only do you study fables and you write a fable, but perhaps you do a video, a claymation video that goes along with it that absolutely takes that project from pencil and paper and simply the written word, brings it to life, and allows them to share it with others. And that's the kind of thing that's going on there on a regular basis. But it's hard for us to have everyone experience that in the same way that those of us who can take a tour and we can spend time and spend an afternoon or a day in that program. Not everyone has that opportunity to do.
Let's see. Are you moving toward a one-to-one initiative? What are the impediments? What are you seeing in terms of going fast, slow, whatever?
Yeah, we've actually thought about one-to-one for a long time. As a matter of fact, in 1994, Lake Washington double failed a technology levy, and you were on the board at the time. And I wasn't in the district. One of the things that failed the levy in 1994 was the fact that there was a one-to-one program on the levy ballot in 1994, and the community reacted to that. It was too fast, it was too aggressive, too out there from the community perspective. And so since that time, we've contemplated when is the time to begin really considering. There are really 3 components that I've been looking for. One is it scalable and sustainable? And that has to do with equipment prices and equipment capability. The second one is the software available that's going to make it possible to do what we need to do with that kind of investment. And the third is around the culture of the system, the culture of the community, the culture of the schools, the culture of teachers. And so we've been pretty deliberate about working on the culture specifically, working on trying to evaluate software and in some cases develop so that by the time the devices become mature enough that we could actually pull it together and have it be a catalyzing kind of thing. And so we're pretty close. I mean, we're now in the pilot phase. We think that this next levy that we'll do in 2010 will have one-to-one on it, but we didn't do it in 2002 and we did not do it in 98 because we really didn't feel like it was ready. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a wonderful book called The Tipping Point, right? The Tipping Point before that. And he talks about it, which is really about critical mass, having enough critical mass of there's a tipping point in the system so that people will feel like they aren't part of the organization if they aren't doing it, rather than they're out, ousted if they are doing it. I mean, that kind of thing.
Lake tip, but the
right.
others are just leaning.
Right, and the question in an organization, I think, is how do you create the tipping point? And that's what I think Sue has been trying to do with Echo Lake, and how do you create that momentum so that you can move there, and so that it's actually productive, so that it really does become about learning rather than about the fact that they've got this cool netbook or whatever it is that you've happened to select it.
One of my mentors in the room here, Dick Barnhart, used to describe teaching to me as a teacher that had taught something for, let's say, 5 to 10 years, would have a little tote box, and you'd have folders like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, so on. There'd be lesson plans in there, there'd be tests, there'd be what chapters to read, and they knew by week 4 where the kids should be. And if they weren't there, they'd feel bad because they would think they did something wrong in teaching, and they would try and perfect it. And it would be a multi-year kind of an activity trying to perfect that tote box. Now you walk in as director of technology and say, the superintendent wants us to go to one-to-one, okay? And I can guarantee you that everything in your tote box is in this computer. The problem is, I don't know where. You got to find it. How do you get over that tipping point?
Well, and I think that's the dilemma, is if you can't make it meaningful for the people who are going to actually implement it, then you have no chance of success. And so I think it is, and I think both Sue and Mary Alice have mentioned this, investments in professional development so that you're bringing people along. Again, the software piece, so that it actually isn't, you've just now thrown all of these things in a box and you don't even know where they are, but actually there's a construction of it, so it makes the professionals' life easier, more manageable, and also causes them to do things they couldn't do before, which I think is also really important. It's interesting because the first part of your question was about socioeconomic differences. And in Lake Washington, where we have a middle class and upper middle class socioeconomic for the most part, it's interesting because in many cases, we are far more resistant to change than systems that have a lower demographic. Because we have people in our system who have won at the game. They've been very successful in the system, and they are currently winning at the game. So they have no incentive to change. Except for, we've got kids that are bored, we've got kids that are unengaged, and we've got kids that are not finding success in the system. In our district, I'm most concerned, frankly, at the middle school level, where I find that rigor is interpreted as more work, not more meaningful work, and that's terribly concerning to me. And I think that middle school is the gateway to successful high school and ultimately post-secondary education. And that's where my biggest worry is as a system.